I'm really excited to show you what we got going on. So when you first walk into the shop, you'll see the built shop on your left-hand side and the louver shop on the right-hand side. First step is Braley picking all the material. He does it all by himself. And then we get it stacked, ready to go into the powder. So the first step is hanging the mill-finished aluminum. So we have separate racks for all the different extrusions. Some of them do cross over. We have chains, hooks, racks for all of the different profiles. The idea behind that is that we do the least amount of holes in the product. That gives you less waste, and then you don't have to cut the holes off out in the field. Then we go into the pre-treatment. So it's a 3-stage pre-treatment, basically a big dishwasher. The first stage is an acid etch and degreaser. That pulls off all the grease that was on the product when it was pushed through the dies when it was made. And then to open up the pores of the aluminum to allow that powder to come in and really penetrate into that aluminum. Then we have another 2 stages. So we have the first one is a water rinse. That washes it. Then we have another stage of wash. So that's just again just a clean water that gets pushed over the material at really high pressure, and that pushes off any of the acid etch or the degreaser and makes sure it's nice and clean. So we pull the material out of the dishwasher and we slide it along and we put it into the dry off oven. What this does is just get any of the water off, and then it warms the material to go through to the powder. Once it's been in the dry off oven and it's warm, we bring it out and we slide it onto the actual powder coating system itself that does all of the powder. So we have 4 reciprocating guns, and then we have 2 manual guns. The manual gun will be at the front. That will have the same powder that we're putting on the material with the reciprocating guns. What we do with this is we pick up any of the small crooks and crannies that the big guns can't get to. We do this because the powder is lazy. It wants to go to the biggest surface, and when it's getting sprayed with the big reciprocating guns, it misses some of those small spots. So if we go in there by hand and just spray those, then we'll get a good finish over the whole product. You can see it coming through now, and the guns will turn on. They're moving up and down. We predetermined the speed that it comes through on the overhead chain and the speed that the guns move up and down, and we also can change the stroke of the guns as well. They come through there, and then on the last spot we just do a check to make sure all the material is powdered. If it's not, then we can stop it, and then we can just touch up with a manual gun as it comes out. Most of the time, the gun at the front and the 4 reciprocating guns will pick up most of the spots that need to be powdered, and then we continue to come out of the powder coating area and into our baking oven. The baking oven is at a really high temperature. It goes in there, we open the doors, we set 2 racks to 4 racks at a time. They go in and they bake. What it does is it has a fluidizing component to it, so it turns the powder from a powder into a liquid again, and then it cures it onto the material. It takes about 20 minutes for it to do that whole cycle of baking. Then we pull it out, bring it over to the cooling rack. The cooling rack has fans at the top and will cool the material pretty quickly. Once it's cool enough to touch, we'll do a thickness gauge test, and every now and then we'll do a scratch test and a boil test. We'll put separate pieces in hanging to make sure that we're getting good pre-treatment, good powder, and good bake. Once we've done all those tests, it sits on the rack, gets pulled off, and then sent back out to the warehouse. The guys on the powder will do a basic wrap just to make sure the material is stacked nicely and it's not touching other material. Then it comes out to the warehouse guys, and the warehouse guys will determine whether it needs to be wrapped, completely wrapped and put on the shelf for stock, or if it needs to go to the retractable shop that gets a basic wrap, or if it's going straight out onto a truck, then that'll get a wrap, and then it'll get stacked into cubes and fulfill that order. There it is, finished product.